In another edition of Outside the Shop with me, your host, Daryl D. Lane, as always, where I get to talk about everything that I normally don't get the chance to talk about. American sports podcast, barbershop sports talk, which you guys can all find on Spotify, iTunes, Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, iRadio, SoundCloud, or whichever podcasting app or platform you may use. Thank everybody for tuning in via Twitter /Periscope, Facebook Live, and YouTube live streams. I appreciate it. Check on the descriptions below. You should have Aaron Rodgers. It's about a 3-minute clip from the podcast. Is he the best quarterback in the NFL the way he's playing? And also there is another clip, and that is Jimmy Garoppolo on the hot seat, and San Fran didn't play well on Sunday Night Football against the Indianapolis Colts. So check that out. Also, subscribe to the channel. Give comments on here. Always like hearing what you guys have to say. We got a lot of stuff to talk about. First, this Saints versus Seahawks Monday Night Football. I want to say something. And the Saints win, and now the Saints are looking like they're a live dog in this in terms of being a wild card team, being that 6th or 7th seed. As I've stated before, I think it's very typical that right now we're looking at the AFC North, the Packers, the Cowboys, the Buccaneers, and the Cardinals. Right now, those are the 4 division winners. Those teams right at this moment in time are 4 locks. And then you look at the second team in the AFC West, which is the LA Rams. They're a lock, so that's your 5th seed. So those are 5 teams that are guaranteed. We have 2 more slots after that. Now with the Saints being 4-2, that puts them in fabulous position. Teams like the Panthers are now 3-4. The Falcons, I believe, are 3-3 right now. So right now the Saints are our second in the NFC South. If you look at the NFC North, they're competing with teams like the Bears and Vikings. You look at the NFC West, they just beat the Seahawks, so they have a head-to-head over the Seattle Seahawks. Also, San Francisco 49ers, they have been struggling. They are now under 500, a few games under 500, in fact. And then if you look at the NFC East, that's the scumbag, the Giants, Washington football team, and Eagles, no threat there. So the Saints are in a perfect position to be a 6 or 7 team in the wild card scenario, which is great for them and their fans and Sean Payton. So I think that was one of the biggest takeaways from this. Also, I want to say this. People underrate coaching so much, how much it matters, right? Jameis Winston, and there was a stat on Monday Night Football, and I think it's really interesting. Guess how many times, guess what Jameis's touchdown red zone this year? Downs to 0 picks. Everybody talks about 30 interceptions. Jameis has improved. That's the matter of the fact of what coaching can do for you. And also talking about coaching, Pete Carroll and Seattle Seahawks. What has Seattle ever been without Russell Wilson? I can't tell you. They've been nothing. Seattle, right? I think Pete Carroll's a little overrated. I think he's getting a little bit exposed. When Russell Wilson's not there, they can't do a damn thing. The defense has not been good all year. They've hung in there, I will say. Held Pittsburgh to 23 points. Held and 20 points in regulation. Held the Saints to 13 points, right? But besides that, before that, they weren't doing a very good job. They weren't doing a very good job at points last year. Pete Carroll's supposed to be the defensive guy. The offense, nobody will ever confuse the offense with being creative, right? Nobody will ever say, oh, they scheme this wide receiver open. They're so creative. Look how much motion they do. No, their offense has been archaic and it's been despicable for the longest time. The offensive line is not good. Geno Smith was sacked 5 times during the game. This is why Russell Wilson is being like, I don't know if they can build around, because without Russ, it's a bust. That's exactly what the Seattle Hawks are, and we are seeing it before our very eyes. He doesn't have a Devontae Adams. Well, he does have a Devontae Adams and DK Metcalf, but they don't also have the offensive line that a team like the Packers do. They don't necessarily have the pass rushers that a team like the Green Bay Packers do. So just a little food for thought right there. Next, I want to go to my NFL Power Rankings. At number 10, the Cincinnati Bengals, big-time win against the Baltimore Ravens. Number 9, the Tennessee Titans, big-time win, blowing out the Kansas City Chiefs. Number 8, the LA Chargers. I'm still going to have them at 8 because they beat the Ravens. They blew out. No, they got blown out by the Ravens, excuse me, because they've had some very big wins this year. They almost beat the Cowboys, their own losses. They've been consistent. I select the quarterback. At number 7, I'm going with the Ravens. I'm still going with the Ravens because they've blown out the Chargers. I think they're better than the Titans still personally. They beat the Titans last year in a playoff game. And even though they lost Cincinnati, I'm going to need to see a little bit more from Cincinnati before I move them ahead of Baltimore in my power rankings. In the standings, they're ahead of Baltimore, but I'm talking about my power rankings. At number 6, the Dallas Cowboys bye week. At number 5, the Green Bay Packers. They just keep on keeping on. They dominate in every single phase of the game. themselves. Aaron, super efficient, a man who is in rhythm. It is something to behold. At number 4, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills still. They were on a bye week. They've been the most dominant team in the AFC so far, and I'm still going to put them there until it's proven otherwise. At number 3, the LA Rams. Sean McVay has a stinker cooking, right? Obviously, they struggled a little bit more than you would think against the Lions, but that was an emotionally charged game for many reasons. The Goff, Matthew Stafford trade, and all of that. Matthew Stafford going back to Ford Field in Detroit for the first time can be emotional, can be hard to deal with. The Rams prevails there. Number 2, I'm going with the Arizona Cardinals. They weren't very good against the Houston Texans, even though they ended up beating the Texans 35, but they were down 5-0. They've had some other games this year, right? Against the Jaguars, where at one point the Jaguars were competing with them that I don't really like. So that puts my number 1 team, who's impressed me so far the most, my number 1 team in the power rankings, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the defending Super Bowl champions, a very game Chicago Bears team that was just coming off a week in which they were very competitive with the Green Bay Packers, which they were a competitive team all year, and they were competitive with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers last year, and Tom Brady and the Tampa offense shredded them to pieces. They never had a chance. Justin Fields never had a chance. Tom Brady's 4 touchdowns to 0 picks. Justin Fields is 0 touchdowns to 3 picks. They destroyed them, demolished them, embarrassed them, put them in the ground, kind of flexed their superiority a bit. So I'm going to put Tampa Bay at number 1. So now I want to Tampa Bay. Tom Brady went over 600 touchdown passes, 602 touchdowns. Doubled these NFL legends. I'm going to read you the name. John Elway has 300 touchdown passes. And Tom Brady has 602. John Elway for entire career, 300 touchdown passes. Joe Montana, 273 touchdown passes. Steve Young, 232 touchdown passes. Terry Bradshaw, 212 touchdown passes. Kurt Warner, 208 touchdown passes. Troy Aikman, 165 touchdown passes. Tom Brady is dwarfing all of these. When you mention guys like Elway, games, guys with multiple MVPs in this league, guys with multiple Super Bowl MVPs, guys with multiple championship appearances, guys with multiple Super Bowl appearances, and touchdown passes. Number 1 goal for a quarterback, throw that touchdown pass. Shows how special Tom Brady is. Congratulations to the GOAT, the greatest player to ever play the game of football. Next, USC legend Carson Palmer says Steelers. Mike Tomlin would be a wild card for the USC Trojans head coaching job. Mike Tomlin denounced this. He said it's one of the best jobs in all sports. Coaching for Pittsburgh Steelers, why would he go to college? Here's what I would say. You could get out while the getting's good in Pittsburgh. Looks like this is going to be a year where they finish under 500. I believe they're 4-3 or 3-3 right now. I'm not sure. Somebody check that. But in case things go bad in Pittsburgh this year, Ben Roethlisberger declined. They don't have a true bridge right now. There's Dwayne Haskins, who looks like he's the heir. I don't know how that's going to work. So maybe it would make sense for Mike Tomlin to take a step back from the NFL. I think people respect him. Knows a lot about defense, knows about people, and how to build an organization, build a culture. He could do a good job at USC, so it doesn't shock me that he's a name, an out-of-the-box name, too, that USC could think. And let's also remember this. I'll just pay more money than the NFL. Nick Saban makes more money than Bill Belichick. Guys like Dabble Sweeney makes more money than Bill Belichick. If USC wants him, they can fit the bill. They can put the bill, right? Double his salary at Pittsburgh. I guarantee you Mike Tomlin's going to think about it. I guarantee you. Also, reported guys interested in the USC job. The USC is looking at another defensive-minded head coach, Jeff Fisher. I don't like this as much. We all know how archaic it was for Jeff Fisher towards the end, even though he did have success with Tennessee Titans. He had success with guys like Steve McNair, Vince Young. But it got stale in with Jared Goff. The offense was very archaic. It wasn't good, but his defense has always been good. And maybe that's what USC needs. They can lead to the country. Maybe something similar to what Kirby Smart has with all the recruiting he could do. Maybe if he gets the right offensive coordinator in town. But I just don't know. The Jeff Fisher move isn't that awe-inspiring. I'm much more like Tomlin. But still, out-of-the-box move. Big-time coach. A coach that a lot of people know. People know who Jeff Fisher is, right? I think that's also half the battle when you're coaching at a school like USC. And then lastly, James Franklin talks about he's not looking ahead for games. He's not looking at Ohio State. He's just focused on Illinois, and then he talks about the big house. Been a lot of rumors about James Franklin potentially going to USC, right? Potentially going to LSU. And, as the Penn State is starting to struggle, they've lost their last couple of games. They lose a heartbreaker last week. Then they lose to Iowa, teams with their more talent. And I think James Franklin could be looking around and say, hey, we're talking about 2 top 5, top 10 high-level programs in LSU and USC. Why wouldn't I try my hand there? Penn State's a great program. It's a story program. My mom and aunt went there. I know what Penn State is. We are Penn State, right? But it's not at the level of an LSU. It's not at the level of the US. They don't have the type of recruiting that those type of schools do. So just something to think about. Everybody, thank you for tuning into this edition of Outside the Shop. Have a great day.